when I had my automobile accident in 1970, I was going, previous to that, I was going to Culver Military Academy and had just finished up my second year at Culver Military Academy, so I was no longer a plebe. I was eligible for rank, and that happened to be the year right before Culver went co-ed. So I really screwed things up. But at any rate, I broke my neck in an automobile accident, and when I spent about 6 months in the hospital, and then about 6 more months up at the Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago, learning how to drive and pop wheelies and things like that. Then the task of going back to finish my schooling came into question. And we talked a little bit, my mom and dad had talked a little bit about Culver and going back there, and Culver was very willing to be able to do that. But I was living in, our parents were living in Spencer, Indiana, which was down south around Bloomington. And Culver Military Academy was up in the northern part of the state, quite a ways away. It was about a 3-hour trek. And Mom and Dad had just experienced the tasks of dealing with somebody with a spinal cord injury and urological tract infections and bowel issues and all those other fun things that go along with a spinal cord injury, and decided that probably having their son 3 hours away in a not really accessible school was not necessarily the best option. So we looked around Spencer, and again, this was in 1971, and Spencer had just built a brand new school. So we figured I would go back to school at Spencer, Indiana. Unfortunately, that brand new 2-level school had no elevator in it because there was no requirement for it to have an elevator. So the only way to get from the lower level to the upper level was by going up 10 steps, a landing, and 10 more steps. The other option was going to school in Bloomington at Stonebelt, which was about a half an hour away. It was not clearly the caliber that Culver Military Academy was, and not, I felt like, and Mom and Dad felt like, a very viable option. So we said, my dad and Mom said, we're going to go to school in Spencer at this brand new school, and we're going to arrange our classes so that the first part of the day I'd be downstairs. The second part of the day they'd carry me up 10 steps, a landing, 10 more steps. Now the superintendent of the school said, oh my gosh, we can't do this. The liability issues are going to be monumental. It so happened that my dad was the school attorney and said he's going to go to school here. If I had not had that kind of support, I would have had to have been forced to go to 30 miles away to a school for people with developmental disabilities, and probably not succeeded to the level that I was able to at Spencer, and then go on to school at Ball State University and be able to finish my education there. Because of that kind of advocacy, because of that kind of resistance to saying, you know, the superintendent must know better than we do, or we can't do this because of fill in the blank, we said, this is the way that it's going to go. And I think advocates need to be more resistant to succumbing to the individuals with the acronyms past their name, or the people in authority and people in positions of authority, to say, this is not what we want to have happen here. We want this for our child. We want this for ourselves.